All right, we're really excited to be joined this week by Sahmir Hagans, senior wide receiver from Duke University, and also the recipient of this week's Cheez-It Crunch Time Play of the Week award for the 2 point conversion to beat Clemson the other day. When you see you've received dozens of Cheez-It boxes for this honor, what's the first flavor you reach for?
I'm a very original guy, so I think, since I was a kid, I love the original cheesy flavor. So I went the original, but I also like the white cheddar, so it was between those two.
Good. Well, hopefully you had plenty of options to pick from. Getting to football, Duke hadn't beaten Clemson on the road since 1980. A really big deal to walk away with that win. What's it mean to be part of the team that broke that streak and to do it in such dramatic fashion?
I think it's a good feeling, especially since the work that we put in throughout the week for practice, the attention to detail that we put into the film and meetings, and the game plan, and then seeing us execute it to a T. I think it was really a good feeling. And then just, finding out on the afterwards that it was something that Duke hasn't done in a very long time. I think it was good to be a part of that.
Well, what was the post-game locker room celebration like after that win?
It's very hectic, lots of water thrown, lots of music blasting, but just staying level headed and enjoying the win.
And if you're on the aux, what are you blasting in the locker
Um, I don't even know, to be honest. I don't usually control the music after the game. I'm just a lot of yelling and the speaker very loud.
room? So, take me inside the final 2 point conversion call. Nate scores, 40 seconds left, cuts the lead to one. A lot of teams would just kick PAT there and try to figure out in overtime. When did you learn you were going for two? When did you find out the ball was going to be in your hands?
Actually, shockingly, the funny part is our in our meetings the night before, Coach Watts, our tight end coach, had talked about, he basically like predicted how the end of the game would go and said that we would have the last ball. We had the ball last, 2 minute drive to win. Offensively, we did a great job, starting backed up, starting at a 5 yard line, and, making it all the way down the field. And then he had told us what the play call was going to be, and he had predicted basically what was going to happen. So I had an idea, usually, once we practice our 2 point plays, what was going to happen, just but seeing the look that we got from the defense in game, once the ball had been snapped, I knew I was getting it. So I was just focused on, locking in on the catch and getting in the end zone.
And what was it about the defense that you talked about having seen the way they were covering or playing throughout the game? Is there something that stood out that had you know that it was likely coming to you?
Basically, it's just a lot of options on that play, but the area I was going to, there wasn't really anybody there. So being I was though the first option on that play, I knew I was going to get it.
And what is that, making that call to go for two instead of playing for overtime? What's that say about the staff's confidence and you guys to execute?
I think the staff truly trust their players. I think it's easy a lot of programs to say that you trust your players, but I think they showed in that moment that like we're gonna win or lose based off of like this call. Our guys, our 11 that we have out there in the field, we're gonna trust them. To make the right play and win us this game.
How would you describe the team's mentality right now? You're obviously in the thick of a race in your conference. How would you describe the mind space your team's in right now?
I think we're being where our feet are, but I also think that we understand the end goal that we have in mind is very much in grasp for us. So just taking it day by day, practice by practice, game by game. Just focusing on where we are right now.
Now, I know you've been with the Duke program for a while now. You've kind of seen the rise over the past 5 seasons you've spent there. How special has that been to you to kind of see the team continue to grow and improve to where you are right now?
Yeah, I think it's just a testament to the guys in the locker room, the culture that's been built here from before even I was here. Just seeing the culture go down from team by team, year by year, with incoming freshmen and transfers, everybody just is adapted to one Duke culture and we all play for, one bigger program than just, our own individual accolades. And I think that's something that shows on game days with us.
So I know you take a break from conference play this week. You play Connecticut. What's coach been preaching in practice this week as you get ready for the Huskies?
Just being where I feel, like I said, Connecticut is a really good team, not looking past them, looking too far ahead into the rest of the ACC conference, but also not dwelling on our previous game, especially the game we just played. Understanding that Connecticut is a very good team, they're confident, they're coming off, they have a really good schedule. We're playing at Connecticut, so they're going to have a nice little home atmosphere, just respecting them as an opponent, doing what we usually do every week.
You've used that statement "playing where your feet are" a couple times. That's clearly is that a coach mantra, or where does that come from?
I think coach preaches it, but I think the games that we've won, the success we had has been just because, we're not too focused on the future or too worried about what happened in the past, whether it's a win or a loss. Just understanding that every day is a new day. It's about what you do in that day that determines what happens on Saturdays.
Now, I know this is a strange question coming off of talking about not looking ahead, but you are still in the hunt for an ACC title. You're one of several teams that are. You've got with 6 teams in the conference with 0 or 1 losses. You'll be facing one of them when you face Virginia on the other side of the Connecticut game. How important is it to finish strong down the stretch as you get back into ACC play in a couple weeks?
I think it's very important to finish strong, especially with the goal of making it to the ACC championship in Charlotte. But just depending about taking it one game at a time. Not looking too far ahead to Virginia or the rest of the conference games that we have. But just understanding that we can't get to those games without playing this game first.
Well, Samir, we certainly appreciate you making a few minutes in your day to chat with us. Congratulations again on the Cheez-It Crunch Time Play of the Week award, and hopefully you enjoy the boxes that you snagged before the rest of the team got to them.